Vladimir Putin has delivered a stark warning to Donald Trump. A warning not just about Iran, but about history. You're walking into a trap, Putin told him. A trap that was laid long before any of the current players were born. A trap designed by globalist architects who followed the same playbook for over a century. The blueprint? It traces back to General Albert Pike, the man who sketched out the master plan for 3 world wars. The first 2 unfolded with eerie precision. And now, the third is taking shape right in front of us. Putin sees it, he knows the script. And he's warning Trump, this war isn't yours, it isn't America's, it's theirs. The global elite want this war to collapse the old world and bring in the new. A war between civilizations designed to create chaos so vast that only a single global solution will seem acceptable. Trump thinks he's in control, that the strikes are calculated, limited, tactical. But Putin is trying to pull him back from the edge. He's telling him, you're not the author of this war, you're the instrument. You're stepping into a ritual that was planned generations ago. And then came the warning that echoed through every corridor of power. If the United States takes this path, Putin said, they will open the gates of hell. Before we dive in, if you're interested in sponsoring this show, please email sponsor@thepeoplesvoice.tv. Our videos attract millions of engaged viewers on X and Rumble. If you're interested in getting your product or service in front of all these people, please email us at sponsor@thepeoplesvoice.tv. Let's get one thing straight. The mainstream media, CNN, Fox, MSNBC, BBC, they're not giving you the truth. They are pumping out pure, unadulterated bullshit. And why? Because the CIA, the same agency that has toppled governments, run black ops, and manipulated public opinion for decades, has had its claws deep in Hollywood and the press for generations. They've been preparing Americans and their globalist partners for this war narrative for years, conditioning the public, selling fear and selling lies. So, if you're still expecting any honest reporting now, in the days after bombs start falling, forget it. It's not coming. But listen to Putin, and listen closely. He made it clear, Iran wasn't developing a nuclear bomb, and even if they were, no nation on earth is insane enough to actually use one offensively. Why? Because they'd be wiped off the map in minutes. Nuclear weapons are not deterrents, not tools of aggression. And what Iran does have legally is a nuclear energy program. That's not a crime, that's sovereignty. And Putin has been saying it all along. So then ask yourself, why now? Why the strikes? Because Iran didn't build a nuke, they built a train. A rail line stretching across the region, connecting Iranian oil directly to Russia, India, and the entire BRICS bloc. No US Navy, no oil tankers, no globalist central banks, no SWIFT, no IMF, no World Bank, no permission slip to exist. A direct energy corridor outside the reach of the central banking system and petrodollar. And that's right there, that's the real red line for the globalists. While the West boasted about a maximum pressure campaign, claiming they'd isolate Iran and Russia, crush their oil exports and wreck their economies, something else was happening. Iran and Russia were connecting, not collapsing. A new rail corridor was coming online, linking Iranian ports to Russia, India, and the BRICS bloc. No petrodollar, no US Navy, no Western control. It made sanctions irrelevant. And that's exactly what the globalists didn't want the public to see. That the taxpayer dollars to Ukraine, the massive inflation, the economic pain achieved nothing. Meanwhile, Iranian media called it what it was, a shift in the global order. Everyone who tries to trade oil outside of the dollar eventually gets freedom dropped on them from 30,000 feet. That's the globalist pattern. And this time, Israel, the elite's hatchet man, gave the nod. As Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson revealed this week, he watched Mossad take over the Pentagon in 2002. And the world has not been the same place since.
And it's unquestionable that the Epstein business was heavily influenced, let me put it that way, by Mossad.
And so that's somehow emblematic on these huge geopolitical issues.
Yes, I watched Mossad take over the Pentagon. In 2002, the Pentagon was infiltrated by Mossad. They did not need any identification to get through the river entrance of the building. They went upstairs to Douglas Feith, the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy, the third most powerful man in the Defense Department. Occasionally, they went to the second most powerful man, Paul Wolfowitz, the Deputy Secretary of Defense, and they had run of the Pentagon. Donald Rumsfeld, the Secretary of Defense, said to my boss one time, hell, I don't run my building. Mossad does.
Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev is calling it exactly as it is. The bombing of Iran didn't make the world safer, it brought us to the brink of World War III, just as the globalists planned. In a post on X, Medvedev pulled no punches. He confirmed what many feared. The US strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities didn't cripple Iran's capabilities, they accelerated them. Enrichment of nuclear material, and now we can say it outright, the future production of nuclear weapons will continue. And then the bombshell. A number of countries are ready to directly supply Iran with their own nuclear warheads. Make no mistake, this wasn't a miscalculation, it was a move straight from the globalist playbook. And they lit the fuse on purpose. But it gets even worse, as Medvedev explains. Iran's political regime has survived, and in all likelihood, come out even stronger. Rather than fracture under fire, Iran rallied. The people, even those once disillusioned or opposed to the hardline government, have closed ranks around the country's spiritual leadership. The global elite told us they were bombing for peace, but instead, they've galvanized resistance. And now, the tinderbox is set to explode. Iran is ready to walk away from the nuclear non-proliferation treaty. All it takes now is a false flag, a manufactured spark in the Middle East, and the US will be dragged into a full-scale invasion to save face. And this will be even worse than Iraq. Iran isn't a pushover. Its terrain, vast mountains, unforgiving deserts, hardened cities, is a natural fortress. Any ground war would be a bloody, unwinnable grind. Welcome to the next forever war. Another multi-trillion-dollar black hole, millions of lives destroyed, a generation of American youth sacrificed for a lie, and every bullet, every bomb, every coffin paid for by the US taxpayer. All while the architects of the war, the global elite, sit comfortably behind their walls, counting profits and watching the world burn.